I've been trying to call. I've been on my own for long enough. Maybe you can show me how to love. Maybe I'm going through withdrawals. You don't even have to do too much. You can turn me on with just a touch, baby. I look around and since it is cold and empty, no one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep right until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. I'm running out of time, 'cause I can see the sun light up the sky. So I hit the road in overdrive, baby. Hit the road in overdrive. The city's cold and empty. No one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. I'm coming back to let you know I can never say it on the phone. Whenever let me go this time. I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. Feel free to be whoever you want to be. Feel We meet again, everybody. We meet again on another solemn, sad day in Tennessee Titans fandom. Already got comments coming in on the YouTube live. I don't even know how to express how bad the Titans are anymore, Evan says. They just suck, he goes on to say. Titan South says enough is enough. It's time to put in Willis or Levis. We are 2-4. So how does a team go? Oh, he meant Will Levis, not Willis or Levis. He meant Will Levis. So how do you go from being number 1 seed in the AFC, bona fide contender, elite defense, all this talent, coach of the year,
How do you go to that, from that to, in just 2 years, in 2 short years, you're now 2-4, seemingly right back where you started, and just in total desperation mode. How do you get here in 2 years? Well, you know what? We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about that. Because yesterday, the Tennessee Titans lost to the Baltimore Ravens in London 24-16, and I don't even feel like that score is even indicative of just how out of reach this game felt for Tennessee most of the way through. Titans fall to 2-4, and now they are on a bye week. So there is a bright side. At least they're on a bye week, and we all get a week off from this misery that we're in. Titans are on a bye. They're 2-4, last place in the AFC South. In 2 years, they've gone from far and away first place in the AFC South to far and away last place in the AFC South. We all got up early to watch this crap yesterday. And the Titans flew all the way over there to London to score 16 points and lose. So, yesterday, Ryan Tannehill got hurt. Malik Willis ended up coming into the game. Raises some questions about what the future of this team looks like at the quarterback position. We are, of course, going to talk about that today. Derrick Henry put in a pretty good performance, 100 yards, touchdown. Can't really fault him for much. He only carried the ball 12 times. I am just as baffled as you guys. Tyjae Spears shows signs. DeAndre Hopkins was being triple covered every time he ran down the field, because of course he is. Who else is there to cover? I mean, why waste your time covering one of the other guys? Just put everybody on him. All Kyle Phillips had to do was field a punt before the half. He didn't. He muffed it. Gave up a free 3 points with a second to go in the half. Just worst thing you could do. Why even put a returner back there, by the way? What's the point in even putting a returner back there at that point? A second to go in the half? Why even bother? Anyway, one of the many coaching decisions that I'm sure has Titans fans scratching their heads today. What else offensively? Will Dotson, great point right on time there. 1 of 9 on third down. Meanwhile, letting the Ravens convert half of their third downs. So you're letting the other team convert half of their third downs. You only convert 1 of 9. You're probably going to lose when that happens. But I'm staying with the offense here. What else do we say on offense? Nick Westbrook-Akine dropped a touchdown that was right in his hands. Ryan Tannehill, at just the point when the Titans actually had momentum in this game, they had gotten the interception, then the Derrick Henry touchdown, and then they got a defensive stop, got the ball back. 3rd and short, Tannehill throws an awful interception. Just awful. And if you go back and watch the play, I believe it was Derrick Henry running around wide open in the flat for the easiest first down you've ever seen in your life. But Tannehill throws it into double coverage and gets picked. Easiest interception that Ravens defender's probably ever had. Tannehill gets hurt. And then, Malik Willis comes in. People been wanting to see him, right? People been wanting to see Malik Willis get a chance. Malik Willis, as Evan has already said here in the YouTube chat, Malik Willis got sacked 4 times on one drive. And not the same type of sacks that we've seen Ryan Tannehill take this season. Tannehill, there have been times with him where, he's got 0.2 seconds to throw and there's nothing you can do. But Malik Willis, down by 8, by the way, still a 1-possession game. time becoming a factor. Got to make something happen. What I saw from Malik Willis yesterday, and I will give him the benefit of the doubt, I'm certain the Titans receivers probably weren't getting any separation at all because Chris Moore was already out of the game at that point because of a dirty hit by a dirty player in Kyle Hamilton. Chris Moore is out of the game. So Traylon Burks was never even in the game because, again, your guess is as good as mine on where we stand with him. So you've got Kyle Phillips out there who looks petrified. You've got DeAndre Hopkins who's being triple covered. And then you've got Westbrook Akine. Josh Wiley, tight end, he's got a concussion. He's already out. And Willis is just running around like a chicken with his head cut off. I mean, listen, guys. I know everybody still has hope for Malik Willis. Can I just tell you right now, I'm sure he's a great kid. As a matter of fact, I'm confident he's a great kid. I have no hope for Malik Willis. I'm just going to go ahead and say it on record right here on this podcast. I do not have any faith that Malik Willis is going to be your guy going forward. None. Absolutely none. Already kind of had about 3% hope just because he apparently had a good training camp and did some good stuff in the preseason. But after yesterday, no. I think it's time to just give up on that dream. It is chaotic from the time he steps on the field until the time he steps off. It is just chaos every time he's out there. I have no doubt he's trying. I have no doubt he's giving it everything he's got. But this is not Liberty University, okay? This is the NFL. You just can't run around like crazy and, it's like watching a cartoon character. It's like watching Jerry run away from Tom on Tom and Jerry. Just running around like just chaos. So he gets in there. He can't make anything happen. Defensively, our red zone defense kept us in the game because we kept holding them to field goals. But at the end of the day, our secondary is not very good. They probably were better yesterday. Lamar Jackson's a great quarterback, by the way. So, let's factor that in. But also, come on. Secondary is having a tough go. The run defense was better, but in 2023, having a good run defense is just not as big a deal as it used to be because most teams are throwing the ball anyway. So, yeah, the Titans' run defense was a heck of a lot better yesterday, but it didn't amount to much because then the Ravens just threw all over them. When's the last time what happened to our pass rush, by the way? Just non-existent. Non-existent. And then special teams were a disaster. Kyle Phillips with muffing the punt and gave up a big punt return. Stonehouse saved a touchdown. There was a lot more wrong than right yesterday. And so now what? Now what? Well, I said last week, and I will reiterate today, and I will probably continue to reiterate for a while. I asked the question at the beginning of this podcast, how do you go from being first place in the AFC South, number 1 seed 2 years ago in the playoffs, how do you go from that to this within 2 years? You don't have to, it's not a mystery. This is not something that you need Albert Einstein to come in and figure out for you. The answer is right there in front of you. You cannot have drafts like the Titans had in 2020 and 2021 and maybe 2022, because I'm very skeptical about some of these 2022 picks we made. Traylon Burks, Chigo Okonkwo, these are picks that I'm starting to get a little iffy about now. Okay, Malik Willis was one of those picks. I'm very iffy about that. I'm not even iffy anymore. It is what it is, right? So at least 2 bad drafts in a row, maybe even 3 bad drafts in a row. You can't do that and expect to not have hard times follow it up. You can't do that. You can't spend first round draft picks on guys like Isaiah Wilson and Caleb Farley, and I know Farley's going through hard times, and so I don't want to kick a guy when he's down, but it just has not panned out with him yet. So, like, Isaiah Wilson and Caleb Farley, that's 2 first round draft picks in a row. Christian Fulton was a second round draft pick. A starter, but probably done at the end of this year because he hasn't performed up to the standard they would need to bring him back. And then Dylan Radins, who can't even get in the game. He's apparently not even good enough to be a regular starter. He's like the 6th man off the bench, pretty much. And our offensive line's just totally changing all the time. They're changing guys in and out over the course of a game like crazy. So you can't, I mean, we've drafted guys like Laurel Murchison and Darrington Evans and all of this stuff. And it's just, you can't have drafts like this and miss on this many picks. You trade up to get Des Fitzpatrick while Amon-Ra St. Brown is still there. And now St. Brown's in Detroit tearing it up. You can't do crap like that and expect to just stay competitive. You can't. You can miss on a couple draft picks here and there. Everybody does that. But when you have 2 drafts in a row that bad, the hard times are a-coming. They are. You can't draft that poorly and expect everything to just be okay. You can't trade players away like A.J. Brown. And you're sick of hearing about it, and I'm sick of talking about it, but it is literally a microcosm of why we are where we are. You, as an organization, cannot look at the best receiver you've ever had and say, nah, and trade him away and expect to just stay competitive. You can't do that. You're out of your mind. If you think Traylon Burks is going to come in and just give you the same production that A.J. Brown was giving you, you're absolutely out of your mind. Need I remind you, the guy that made that decision ultimately was fired in the middle of the year last year. I wonder why. You can't do stuff like that. And don't tell me A.J. wasn't worth paying. Look at what he's done to Philadelphia. The Eagles could very well go play in their I know they lost yesterday, but overall, they could go play in their 2nd Super Bowl in a row. They have one of the heavyweight teams in the NFL, and he's part of the reason why. And we just gave him away and expected everything to just be okay. When he is part of the reason that this team was what they were a couple of years ago. You can't do crap like that and expect everything to just magically be okay. You can't. You cannot make moves like that in the NFL and get away with it. You can't draft that poorly in the NFL and get away with it. So you need not sit there and wonder how it got this bad this quick. Just look at the evidence that's right in front of you. The draft picks, the guys we've traded away, it's not a mystery at all. How could you not end up regressing this bad when those are the decisions that have been made by this organization? And y'all want to build a new stadium, and y'all want to do all of this stuff, but you want to trade away one of the key players that made this team what it is a couple of years ago. Now, I'm going to sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here, but I was thinking yesterday, if A.J. Brown were still on this team right now, I don't even know how much of a difference he would make. I don't know how much of a difference A.J. Brown, he would make a difference. Having him and Hopkins together, yeah, that'd be great. But listen, A.J. Brown on this team, I don't even know how much of a difference he would make at the end of the day. Because the defense ain't as good as it was when A.J. was here. Ryan Tannehill ain't as good as he was when A.J. was here. You could argue Henry's lost a step, whatever. He's not getting the ball as much as he was when A.J. was here. And I don't even think because Ryan Tannehill got hurt yesterday, right? And I wish him the best. I hope he's not hurt too bad. But, like, the time has come to make a change. And it's not just because Tannehill got hurt. It's because Tannehill, God bless him, I appreciate his toughness and the good times we've had with him in this organization. It ain't there anymore, dude. It ain't there anymore. He's been more bad than good this season. And I ain't saying it's all on him, because it's not. But we have arrived at a point where it just a change has got to be made. And not just at the quarterback position. I mean, there are other positions too. Sure, let's talk about every position where change could possibly need to be made. But I think it's time. The Tannehill era, to me, feels done. Feels done. And not just because of the injury, but because of the level of play. It feels done. And I think if AJ were still here, I think you would have kind of a Justin Jefferson in Minnesota type situation, where you have a great wide receiver, but the team around him is so bad that it doesn't even matter. So let's talk about something that a lot of people are talking about today, and that's the head coach. Let me text my wife back real quick. The head coach. When Vrabel got here, there was a time where it felt like he could do no wrong. Second year in, team goes to the AFC Championship game. Then, you win the AFC South a couple of years in a row. You go to the number one seed in the AFC. You're voted as the coach of the year. I mean, there was a time where it felt like the guy could just do no wrong. Felt like he was one of the better coaches in the league. And I've been a vocal Vrabel supporter. I like Vrabel. I think there are some things that he's very good at as a coach. But any way you slice it, this team is 2-11 in their last 13 games. 2-11. A 7-game losing streak to end last season. A losing streak that saw them give up a huge lead in their division and miss the playoffs when it seemed unfathomable that would happen. Then you come in this year, and despite all of the changes that you've made on coaching and new guys you've brought in, it looks like the same old stuff. And every week we got to play better, we got to coach better, and now it feels like this locker room is in a little bit of turmoil. Tier Tart's posting stuff on Twitter that looks like he, seems like he's kind of fed up. Jeffrey Simmons, if you saw his post-game interview in the locker room, he seems not necessarily fed up with Vrabel, but fed up with a lot of things going on. Just kind of feels like there are some guys who are not happy right now. And they shouldn't be, by the way. I would almost be furious if these guys sat out here and were laughing and smiling and didn't care. I'm at least glad to see that it bothers them. Some of them. But any way you slice it, is Vrabel on the hot seat? That's the question. Is Vrabel on the hot seat? I think Vrabel's definitely on the warm seat. I think the seat's heating up. And I hate that because I like Vrabel. But you go 2-11 in your last 13 games. Your offense in 2023, your offense consistently can't figure out a way to even score 20 points in a game. Dating back to well into last season, your offense can't figure out how to score points. Your offense can't figure out how to, go down the field sometimes. Now your defense has regressed. And all of that stuff that I listed a little bit ago, the draft picks that they've missed on, I mean, let's not act like Vrabel's just totally innocent in that stuff. I mean, I know, John Robinson is the number one guy you look at in that situation, but I mean, let's not act like Vrabel just had no input. Now, there was evidence last year that maybe Vrabel did have input and that input was ignored by John Robinson, but I'm not willing to say Vrabel's just innocent in all of this. I mean, he's the head coach. He's got to bear some responsibility for some of this. And so now you're in a situation where you came into this year expecting to be competitive and expecting to go out there and win football games, and you're not. And you're losing in the exact same way that you lost last year, which is unable to put up points, unable to find the end zone, and being stubborn in the middle of it. Refusing to make certain changes to try to fix things. And to some degree, I get it. You've played 6 games. It's early in the year. And in response to Wes, because there's a bunch of S's, he said, you're out of your mind if you think Vrabel is the reason this team sucks. It's not that I think Vrabel's the reason the team sucks. I think there's a lot of reasons why the team sucks. It's a complex answer to that question. But does the head coach not bear any responsibility at all? I'm not saying I would fire Vrabel right now. But I am saying it's time to at least look at him and be like, hey, dude, what are we going to do about this? You're 2-11 in the last 13 games and your offense can't get any yards. The bottom line is, why I'm looking to Vrabel right now. You're on a bye week. You're 2-4. Your team has looked mostly bad. Your offense especially can't figure out. Some weeks it feels like they can't even figure out how to get a first down, but especially can't find the end zone. They're lucky to find it once a game. So I'm looking at this guy. You're good, Wes. You're good, Wes, in the chat. But I'm looking at this coach and I'm saying, hey, what changes are we going to make here over this bye? Because it's time to make it. You can't look at what this offense has done dating back to last year into this year. You can't look at what they're doing and think, okay, let's just keep plugging away. Let's keep on with the same stuff and the same guys and the same plays and the same mentality. Let's just keep it up and magically. I mean, I hate going into this, but the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Right now, the Titans are insane because they're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that brings me to my next topic. What would I like to see happen in 2 weeks when the Titans return to action? After the bye, we come back. Well, let's first of all say, Ryan Tannehill's hurt. I don't even think, unless there's been an update while I've been recording this podcast, because I haven't been looking at Twitter. Tannehill's hurt. We don't know what the injury is. We don't know the extent of the injury. We don't know, how long he's going to be out. We don't know. But, I mean, he had an ankle injury last year that kept him out a number of games, and I would assume, he was on crutches. He was on crutches yesterday, so I'm assuming he might miss some time. But I can't stress this enough. Regardless of the injury, this offense needs a change. You traded up in the second round for Will Levis. You traded up to get him. And he's just been like a dude lurking in the shadows over here because he played a little bit in the first week of the preseason and nothing since. He's been hurt. He's been inactive for every game. I want to see him in 2 weeks. I want to see him starting for the Titans in 2 weeks. That's what I want to see. And I don't care how you feel about Will Levis. Hold on, let me text my wife back again. I don't care how you feel about Will Levis. I don't care if you believe in him. I don't care if you think he's the guy or not. We need to put this guy in there and just see what happens. You have to at this point. I mean, what do you have to lose? Let me tell you what I would do, what I wish they would do, and then I'm going to tell you what I think they're going to do. What I wish they would do, I wish they would go with Will Levis in 2 weeks. I'm done with the Malik Willis project. And Tannehill's probably not going to be healthy anyway. I want to see Will Levis at quarterback. Offensive line, I want to see Nicholas Petit-Frere at left tackle. I want to see Skoronski left guard. I want to see... I'm down to try Corey Levin at center. And then Brunskill and Hubbard on the right side is fine. And then, because I'm treating this season as... Let's use this as an audition to see who you even want to bring back. And to see what exactly needs to happen in the offseason. Because I'm looking for the rest of this year, I'm looking at Treylon Burks. I'm putting a magnifying glass on that guy and saying, okay, if you're going to do it, you better do it now. You better do it right now. First round draft pick, and you've been hurt a bunch, and when you're in there, you're inconsistent, you're falling down, you can't make guys miss in the open field, you're dropping passes, first round draft pick. So I'm putting a magnifying glass on that guy when he gets back. Okay? I'm putting a magnifying glass on Chig Okonkwo. Had a great rookie year and then has totally regressed, in my opinion, in year 2. I'm putting a magnifying glass on that guy and saying, okay, consider this, like, we're seeing how involved you're going to be in the game plan going forward. Okay? Josh Wiley, when he gets back, rookie tight end, let's get a close look at him. Kyle Phillips, let's get a close look at him. Defensively, I'm taking Christian Fulton out. I'm putting Trey Avery in there and saying, hey, this is your audition. If Caleb Farley gets to a point where he can come back, put him in there and say, hey, we just want to see what we got, bro. We just want to see what we got to know exactly what we need to do in the future. It's just an audition the rest of the year, as far as I'm concerned. For every one of them. That's what I wish they would do. What do I think they're going to do? Regardless of my wishes and your wishes, here's what I think they're going to do. I think if Tannehill's able to play, he's going to play. If they come back and Tannehill's able to heal up over this bye, I think they're going to put him back in there. Because from Mike Vrabel's perspective, for everything I just said, he don't want to tank. You want to know why? Because he's 2-11 in the last 13 games. So if you go out there and tank and just lose, it's just going to make him look worse and make his seat get hotter. He don't want to tank. He don't want to go out there and lose every week. I'm sure the competitive nature, I'm sure for that reason too. But like, his seat's warming up and he probably knows it. He don't want to tank. And from his perspective, let me tell you what he's going to say. He's going to sit down, he's going to say, listen, we got 5 division games left. We got to play the Jags twice. We got to play the Texans twice. We got to play the Colts again. So he probably feels like, hey, even though we're in last place, we kind of control our destiny here in this AFC South because we got to play all these teams. Most of them, we got to play them twice. And let's not act like the Titans' schedule after this bye is that hard. They don't have to play teams like the Chiefs or the Bills or the Eagles or the 49ers or the Cowboys. They don't have to play teams like that. They got to play good teams. I'm not at all saying the teams, they do have to play Miami at some point, but I'm not saying that the teams on their schedule are bad. I'm just saying they're not like the heavyweights. They got to play Atlanta. They got to play Pittsburgh. They got to play Carolina. They got to play Tampa Bay. And so it's not exactly like the hardest schedule. I think I saw the other day the Titans have the 4th easiest remaining schedule in the league. That is not me saying that they're going to win all those games. That is not me saying that they should be favored to win all those games. I am simply saying that from Vrabel's perspective, I guarantee you he's looking at the remaining schedule. He's looking at how many division games they got left, and he's still thinking this can be salvaged. Now, he did seem pretty defeated after the game yesterday, but I guarantee you, by the time they come back from this bye, he's going to feel like, you know what? We're not interested in rebuilding. We're not interested in tanking. We're not interested in just seeing what we got for next year. We're not interested in that. We're interested in going out, and we're interested in figuring this out this year. And we're going to go out there and we're going to try to win these games. And that's great. If they could do that, great. But based on what I'm seeing, I don't feel good about that. Because I don't think they can do it. Hate it, but I don't think they can do it. It's all going to come down to if Tannehill's able to play. And I don't think he will be by the time they play Atlanta. I don't think he will be. I think the injury is probably significant enough that he's probably not going to be ready to go, by Atlanta, by that game. But, I mean, you got to think. I saw yesterday there is a good chance that Tannehill has taken his last snap as the starting quarterback for the Titans because if, say, Will Levis came in and played well enough and helped them win, then even if Tannehill's healthy, they're going to want to stick with Levis anyway because he's playing well. Or if Levis comes in and he's bad and they keep losing, then by the time Tannehill's healthy, you're probably 2-6, 2-7 anyway, and what's the point in bringing him back in? So, Wes, that was what I was going to talk about next. Wes in the YouTube chat says, can you talk about maybe trading some vets? So, yes, there has been talk of, as the trade deadline starts approaching, could the Titans be active? And by active, I don't mean trading guys away. I don't mean trading for guys. I mean trading guys away. Some names I've seen thrown around include Derrick Henry, who people say, he's played well enough so far this year that he might still have some trade value. I've heard the name Danico Autry thrown around. I've heard the name DeAndre Hopkins thrown around. I've heard the name Kevin Byard thrown around as guys who could be traded. If there's a contender out there who feels like they could use an elite safety or I could say the Buffalo Bills might look at a guy like Derrick Henry. I think there's two things about it. Number one, would you, for say Derrick Henry, would you be able to get anything in return that's even worth it? Because if all we're going to get for Derrick Henry is like a 6th round pick, that's just not worth it to me. And maybe it's because of the way this team's been drafting for the last few years, but it's like, who are we going to get in the 6th round that's going to be worth that? And especially knowing that Derrick Henry's, probably going to be available at the end of the season anyway. I think I just don't know. I don't know exactly what you're going to be able to get for Derrick Henry in a trade. And any of these guys, really. I mean, I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know if what you would get in return would be worth it. I don't know if there are certain players you could get in return. I just don't know. But the main thing about trading vets, I'm not saying I'm not interested in doing it. I'm not saying it's not something that intrigues me. I'm just saying I don't think Vrabel's going to do it. Because that officially sends the message of we are tanking. If you do that, if you trade Derrick Henry, if you trade Kevin Byard, Danico Autry, whoever, if you trade guys like that, you're literally saying we give up. We surrender and we are looking to the future. And as much as the fans may desire that, I don't think Vrabel's going to do it. I don't think Vrabel's got that in him. I just don't think he's going to do it. I would be shocked. I would be completely shocked. Unless Luke says if I could get a 1st rounder for Henry, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I would do that in a heartbeat. If somebody was willing to trade a 1st rounder for Derrick Henry, you better believe I'd do it. But I don't think you're going to get that at all. I just don't think Vrabel will do that. I don't think he will just because of the message it sends that they're tanking. I don't think he'll do it. I would be shocked unless he has a private meeting with Rand Carthon and Amy Adams, where they literally say, "Hey, we're all in agreement. We want to tank and look to the future. You have our permission to tank this team." If that's the case, and there's kind of like an agreement that, like, okay, so you guys aren't going to view this as me failing as a coach. As long as we have that agreement, then sure, let's tank it. Like, unless something like that happens, and I don't even know if that's a conversation that NFL GMs even have with their head coaches. I don't know. I'm sure somebody has. I just. And plus, I mean, you got guys like Jeffrey Simmons and, guys like Derrick Henry, guys like Amani Hooker and Kevin Byard, guys who were on those teams who were super competitive a couple of years ago. They're just not going to be interested in doing that. And Jeffrey Simmons, you're not trading him. You just signed him to a big money deal. So, like, he's here, So, I just think that it's going to be an interesting rest of the season. It's going to be a very interesting rest of the year because, yeah, all options are on the table. You could trade, some key guys away for draft picks. You could hope to still be super competitive and, kind of try to keep things as they are. Or you could use the rest of this season as an audition for who's going to be a part of this thing going forward. I don't know. I lean toward that last option, which was let's use the rest of the season as an audition. Let's put Levis in there. Let's really zero in on these Okonkwo's and Traylons and Roger McCreary's and Trey Avery's. Let's just take a look at these guys and see what we've got, see what we want to come back with next year. Like that's what I would be doing. But who am I? Let's look at some of the other games from yesterday. Commanders beat the Falcons 24-16. Desmond Ridder with a really bad interception late in that game. Hey, if Arthur Smith can't stay on as the head coach of the Falcons, we could use him as the offensive coordinator. I mean, I'm probably not as hard on Tim Kelly as some are, but, there are some things that happen. There's usually a few moments in a game where I'm just scratching my head. And to Luke's comment in the chat, I actually think Atlanta, if Tannehill were healthy, I think Atlanta would be the only team I would think of that would actually try to trade for Ryan Tannehill because of his ties to Arthur Smith, because of their quarterback situation. I could actually see Atlanta being the only team that would be likely to trade for him. They lost yesterday to the Commanders 24-16. Commanders needed that win. Bengals beat the Seahawks 17-13. Low-scoring game. Bengals didn't look great, but they got a big win over Seattle. 2 in a row for them. Feels like Cincinnati's kind of turning the corner. Tough loss for Seattle. Geno Smith with some really bad interceptions in there. And Seahawks, I think, will be a wild card team probably in the NFC, but they're not. I don't think they're going to be good enough to compete with the 49ers in that division. Jags beat the Colts 37-20. And this is another thing, so Trevor Lawrence got hurt in this game. And because the Jags have a quick turnaround, they've got to play Thursday night against New Orleans. Pretty good defense there in New Orleans. I would be surprised if the Jags play Trevor Lawrence Thursday night. I would be surprised. Just because it's a short week. He's your franchise quarterback. He's the most important player on your team. I would be surprised if Trevor Lawrence plays Thursday night against the Saints. And so, let's say he doesn't play, and let's say the Jaguars lose Thursday night. The Texans are on a bye, so they're not playing anybody this week. You just know, if the Jags were to not play Trevor Lawrence, lose to New Orleans Thursday, Vrabel's going to sit there and he's going to say, okay, we're right here on their coattails. Let's go out there. Let's go out there with Tannehill, and let's go out there and try to win these games with the way things are so that we can catch them and win this division. I feel like that's what's going to happen. I could be wrong. Jags beat the Colts. The Jags they look like they are turning the corner too, or they've turned a corner. I think they were 4-2, 5-2. I don't know what it is now. I don't care. But yeah, I mean, the Colts. It's good to see them lose. At least there's that. Dolphins over the Panthers 42-21. That's pretty much what I expected that game to be. Dolphins are a heavyweight, and the Panthers are the only winless team left in the NFL. Vikings over the Bears 19-13. Bears, Justin Fields got hurt, dislocated his thumb, I believe I saw. So he's probably going to miss some time. It's been a disaster, I think, for him so far this year. Vikings, I'm not any more of a believer in them than I was despite this win, but whatever. Browns beat the 49ers 19-17. What in the world? With no Deshaun Watson, the Browns beat the 49ers. So here's the thing, guys. Even if you're one of these people who think, hey, you know what? Maybe the Titans could grab one of those AFC wildcard spots. Even if they don't win the division, what if they could grab one of those wildcard spots? That's what they were when they went to the AFC title game. They were the bottom seed. I think there's more of a chance of them coming back and winning the division than there is of grabbing one of these wild card spots. Look at this. The entire AFC North looks good. Steelers, Browns, Bengals, Ravens, they may all make the playoffs. All right? Then you've got the Bills and the Dolphins coming out of the East. And, I ain't sleeping on the Jets. Because Aaron Rodgers is walking around with no crutches. He's out there throwing passes on the field in warm-ups. He tore his Achilles a month ago. Okay? So I ain't sleeping on the Jets. Patriots are horrible. But the AFC West, you got the Chiefs and the Chargers over there. I don't think you can totally go to sleep on the Raiders. So I don't see the Titans grabbing and in our own division, I think the Texans and the Colts are both better than the Titans right now. So I think there's more of a chance of the Titans finding a way if the whole division falls apart and they come back. I would think there's more of a chance of that than there is of them grabbing a wild card spot. Look how many teams are vying for those wild card spots. You kidding me? Browns beat the Niners. Now, keep in mind, the Niners did not have Deebo Samuel or Christian McCaffrey in this game. And Brock Purdy, he came back down to earth without those two guys going against the Browns' top-notch defense. He struggled. And kudos to the Browns. With no Deshaun Watson, they beat the Niners, handed them their first loss. And it gets worse for the Titans as the Texans got a win yesterday over the Saints, 20-13. So Titans are not tied for last place now. They are in full-fledged last place. So Texans beat the Saints. God help us. Raiders over the Patriots, 21-17. The Patriots are horrible. They are just horrible. And the Raiders, they're a middle-of-the-pack team. They're a middle-of-the-pack team, but they've got some elite talent at certain positions on that team. So that's why I say you can't even sleep on the Raiders. Lions beat the Bucks 20-6. I do my 32-1 Two-Tone Talk power rankings on Fridays. And I'm just thinking about where the Lions might end up on that list this week, looking at things that happened to other teams in the NFL. I'm just thinking. They were in the top 5 the last couple weeks. The Detroit Lions? What? Rams beat the Cardinals 26-9. Cardinals are horrible. Rams are kind of a middle-of-the-pack team as well. I could see the Rams maybe pushing for an NFC wildcard spot when it comes down to it at the end. How about the Jets handing the Eagles their first loss of the year? 20-14. What a story the Jets are. Zach Wilson. How'd Zach Wilson play in this game? Let me go look at his exact stats here. Zach Wilson, 19 of 33 for 186 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions. He also had 4 rushes for 15 yards. So, He didn't do anything extraordinary, but he didn't lose them the game. So can you imagine if he does enough to get them to 10-7, grab that 7 seed in the wild card playoffs, and then Rodgers is able to come back somehow? That would be unbelievable. But the Jets, there are no more undefeated teams in the league. Eagles and Niners both lost. So there you go. And then last night on Sunday Night Football, the Bills did not look good at all, but they beat the Giants 14-9 on a play at the end, which to me should have been defensive pass interference against the Bills. It wasn't called. And so the Bills win, and it's interesting. You know, the teams like the Bills and the Chiefs, they keep on winning. And they don't really look good while they're doing it, but they keep winning, and that's all that matters. So there you go. That's all the games from yesterday. Tonight, Cowboys, Chargers. That might be a good one. That's what I'm saying. You know, somebody asked if we ended the season with a top 5 pick in the draft, would you trade it back for more capital depending on what trades come in? If you got a top 5 pick, I mean, this draft is going to... Here's why I would like to see them put Will Levis in. Because this draft is going to be very quarterback heavy. I think this is going to be a great quarterback class. So if you got a top 5 pick, I know you would hate to spend a pick on a quarterback for the 3rd year in a row, but like, that's just hard to pass up. If you can get your franchise quarterback, hopefully for the future, that's just really hard to pass up, you know? And also, the only thing, if you're in a top 5, if you're in a position where you can get Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State, I'd probably be doing it. Okay? I'll probably be doing it. Okay? But you got to know what you got with Will Levis before you just go out here and, I don't know. There's a lot to it. Somebody said the Bills ain't that good this year. Luke said that. And, you know, that's why I think, you know, they're a team that I would look at as a team that could potentially want Derrick Henry in a trade because he could sure help them. Or if the Titans were, for some reason, looking to trade DeAndre Hopkins, that would be a team I'd look at. But anyway, Titans are 2-4, and here we sit, wondering what in the world to do. That's the Two Tone Talk podcast. I'll be back Friday for episode 46. Even though the Titans are on a bye week, we'll be back Friday doing a 32-1 Two Tone Talk power rankings, talking about, continuing to talk about what the Titans may do when they come back. Still previewing all the Week 7 games, even though the Titans won't be playing. We'll be back Friday. Everybody have a good week, and even though it's a hard thing to say today, tighten up. Bye, everybody.
Feels like the world is picking on ya. Feels like it's picking on me. But trying to please everybody, that ain't no way to be.